Hello everyone, this is Harrison Galway, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to factor quadratic trinomials with a non-1 leading coefficient. So before we get started, some terminology. Quadratic means second degree, where the highest exponent is a 2. So this first term, the highest exponent is a 1, so we'd say this is linear. This second expression, the highest exponent is a 3, it's a cubic, but the third is a quadratic because the highest exponent is a 2. Then by trinomial we mean 3 terms. 2 terms, just a binomial. Here we have 4 terms, but this last one is a trinomial with 3 terms. And finally, this non-1 leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the number multiplying the highest degree term. So here that would be a 2 because it's multiplying the highest degree term. Here it is -2. And in this last one, it's 3. So this last expression here would be a non-1 leading coefficient quadratic trinomial. So I'm going to show you how to factor these. It's a bit more involved than when the leading coefficient is 1. I'll show you a method that I like to use to solve these. So let's take a look at this first one here. 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. So because our leading coefficient is not 1, what we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves an x here to help keep track of the numbers we're going to need. Now on the top, we're going to take the first term, 2x squared, and we're going to take the coefficient of that term, which is a, right? So in this case, a is 2, and we're going to multiply it by the last term, c, which is -3. So on the top here, again, we'll put a times c. And so that's 2 times -3, which is -6. On the bottom, we're going to simply put b, which is 5. And so now we need 2 numbers that multiply to the top, but add to the bottom. So we need 2 numbers that multiply to -6, but add to 5. And so, easy to find those 2 numbers. It's 6 and -1. 6 times -1 is -6, but 6 plus -1 is 5. So we found our 2 numbers. The next step is we're going to rewrite this trinomial. We're going to leave the first term alone, and we're going to leave the last term alone. But the middle term, the plus 5x, we're going to replace it with, we're going to use these 2 numbers. Rather than plus 5x, we'll do plus 6x minus 1x. Plus 6x minus 1x. And you'll notice that we haven't changed anything, right? It's still plus 5x. We just expanded it into plus 6x minus 1x. Our next step is we're going to factor by grouping. I have another video on that, but it's pretty straightforward. If you have 4 terms, the way we do now, what we can try is we can put parentheses around the first 2 terms and around the second 2 terms. We can put a little plus sign in between them. And so then we look for the GCF, or greatest common factor, of the first binomial here. So the GCF here is 2x. So we'll pull out a 2x from here. What do we have left? Well, that would be x plus 3. And then the GCF here, well, we could pull out a -1. Because if we do, we get x plus 3 again. And you'll notice the things in the parentheses are the same. And if that happens, that means your grouping was successful. And so then we're just about done. Our final answer will be the thing that appeared twice. So that's the x plus 3. And then the stuff on the outside, 2x minus 1. And that's it. That's how you do it. So let's look at a couple more examples here. The next one, we have 6x squared minus 11x plus 3. So again, it's a quadratic trinomial, but the leading coefficient is not 1. So we need to do this technique. We'll make our little x. And remember, on the top, we do a times c. A times c. So that's 6 times 3, that'll be 18. And on the bottom, we just put b, that's -11. So now we need 2 numbers that multiply to the top, 18, and add to the bottom, -11. I remembered that we have to multiply to the top because we got the top by multiplying, right? A times c. So let's see, what multiplies to 18 but adds to -11? Well, that would be -9 and -2. We can double check. -9 times -2, that's 18. -9 plus -2, -11. So again, we'll take this original expression that we had. We'll leave the first term alone and leave the last term alone. but we'll replace the minus 11x with minus 9x minus 2x using the two numbers that we found. So minus 9x minus 2x, and then we'll just factor by grouping. We'll group up the first two terms and group up the second two terms. Notice that, we'll put our little plus sign. Notice that I put these parentheses around this negative sign. That's vital. You need to make sure that you don't put the parentheses inside of the negative sign or you're changing the expression, right? So if that third term is being subtracted, put the parentheses around it. So we'll factor out the GCF from both of these binomials. From the first, it's 3x. What do we have left? Well, that would be 2x minus 3. And from the second binomial, we'll pull out just a negative 1. I'm doing that because if I do, we get 2x minus 3 again. And remember, we want the two things in parentheses to be the same. Our final answer is just the thing that appeared twice, 2x minus 3, and the stuff on the outside, 3x minus 1. All right, last one. So we have another quadratic trinomial with a non-1 leading coefficient. It's 4. So to factor, we'll just make our little x. On the top, we do a times c. That's 4 times 3, which is 12. And on the bottom, we just put b. That's 7. So let's see, two numbers that multiply to the top, add to the bottom. Well, let's see, not 6 and 2, but 3 and 4 work for us. So we'll leave the first term alone, leave the last term alone, but instead of plus 7x, we'll do plus 3x plus 4x. Again, not changing anything, just rewriting it in a different way. And now we'll factor by grouping. We'll group up the first two terms, group up the second two terms. GCF for the first is, well, just an x, right? So we have x times 4x plus 3. GCF for the second, really nothing to pull out there. We could just do 1, right? Just to have something out there, but nothing we can really pull out. And again, we got the same thing in the parentheses twice. And with this technique, if you can find two numbers that go here, it's going to work out like that. You're going to get the same thing twice. So our final answer is the thing that appeared twice, 4x plus 3 and x plus 1. And there you have it. That is how you factor a quadratic trinomial with a non-1 leading coefficient. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.